So how long have you been doing vending for?
A year and a half. I have 4 locations. I have a location that is a unicorn and it averages anywhere from like 22 to 25 in sales.
Wow, that's amazing.
Dollars or
Dollars.
thousands? With
Yeah,
like it only takes one.
it only takes one.
What's your number one seller?
What would be like the one key piece of advice that you would tell your old self?
What's an item that might not be considered traditional vending that actually sells well? Shan, super fired up to have you on here today. I think just to get started, like let's go through your story, where you from, kind of how you literally led to going down this whole idea of building a vending route.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, y'all. Excited to be here as well. I think, story started with my husband and I relocated. So I was in the Bay Area for a handful of years, and he was looking for a bunch of different jobs and different opportunities all throughout the United States. At that time, my position was not remote. And so I was really trying to figure out like what was going to come, what was going to be my next step. So we relocated to Seattle, Washington. I don't know. I was here for a handful of months before I was like, okay, I'm bored. I need something else going on. I was able to transition some of my role remotely, but not 100% of it, and really had some open time to be able to kind of look into what was next. I was really lucky to have Mike kind of walk me through like a bunch of different areas and different steps with having different conversations about like, what does it really look like? How do you start your own business from the ground up? Where do I even start? And for us, it was mostly financially based. So at the time we had purchased a home, we realized in the process of purchasing the home that we were going to need to do a remodel. So we were paying Seattle rent and a Seattle mortgage, which is a really fun thing to do. So like talk about is like catching money on fire. So for us, it was really financially driven of like, what can I be doing? My husband relocated, got a brand new job. I was not at 100%. And so for us, like that was our biggest takeaways, like really financially, like how can we do this? How can we continue to be able to fund our remodel, go through this process? And at the same time, like, what can I be doing for like our family and our next steps? So started with, I don't know how to describe it other than a unicorn. My first location was incredible. And since then have rolled out to a few different spots. But really like hit the ground running with the first one, just kind of because of relocation and the financial benefits of starting my own business.
So how long have you been doing vending for?
A year and a half. So
And how many
it in
how many locations and revenue do you have like at like today? Like what are you where are you at right now?
So I have 4 locations. I have a location that is a unicorn, and it averages anywhere from like 22 to 25 in sales a month.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Dollars or
Dollars.
thousands?
Thousands of dollars. Yes.
Oh my
So
gosh. Talk yeah, it is a unicorn. Wow.
that is a unicorn. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
her,
it
her numbers
is.
are gonna be a little skewed, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
With
yeah,
like it only takes one.
it only takes one. No, and that was, I think the
Wow.
scariest part is that was my first one. So I like had this vision and I was like, yeah, sure. I go once a week, I'll restock, not a problem. And I remember getting an email, I think within 48 hours, and they're like, the inventory is gone. Like, are you going to come back? And I was like, oh, okay, I need to be back on location. At the time, it was my first one. It was, the first time that I was dealing with the software systems and like understanding how to even do inventory, how to be, how am I even purchasing this? I remember going to the store and sending a photo to Mike and be like, oh, yeah, we got some like inventory. And he was like, dude, triple that. And like, that is like basically maybe not what you can even start with. And I was like, oh, okay, like awesome. So I'm drinking out of a fire hose from like day one. My husband and I mean, that poor guy, I brought him everywhere. We were doing a bunch of things from like just running to like the Costco Business Center. We're very lucky. We're in Seattle. Costco is Costco here, right? So we're running up to the business center. I would say like every other day because I didn't even know like how much inventory do I even need? Like, what does this look like? So we started in June. For the first 6 months, we lived in, at the time, an 800 square foot home, and our living room and our dining room was my inventory like location in my locker. Like Mike can vouch for it. Like literally like walked in, was like, oh, here's Dr. Pepper, and like don't forget about your treats over here and everything. So I mean, it took over our lives for those first, I would say, 6 months. And then after that, started to really figure out like, okay, what does this process look like? How can I like make sure that I'm, living my life while still running this business without it feeling like it's in my space all the time? So I was really lucky. I was able to get a storage unit and kind of get it out, and start to scale from there. So that was June to October. And then October, I rolled out in 3 more locations. And since since then have just been kind of like really honing in on those 4 locations, and have thought about growing. And sometimes like there's those growing pains of like, where do I scale? How do I do this? So like I said, 48 hours, I'm running inventory. So I think for the first 4 months, I was doing it myself. I was there every other day. So 3 to 4 times a week, restocking that one location. Realized that I can't do
Yeah,
that all the time myself. So I was
for
able to
sure.
hire some help and have some stocking help to continue with that, because now, yeah, restocking that location 4 times a week. So we go Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and then Saturdays or Sundays, depending on inventory needs.
Gosh, that's
Wow.
incredible. That's
Yeah.
incredible. That's the one
Again,
thing that I love about this business is that like people are definitely going through some different hard times right now, just with like layoffs and everything. Like it honestly just takes one. Now yours is like the highest I've ever heard of, like, but like it just could take one, like, and your life could kind of go ahead and change. And I think that is the most powerful thing here about this business. What was like your cost setup for like that place? Like how much
yeah,
was that?
I want to say it was like 10 to 12,000 to be
Yeah,
able to
so
get
even
that.
even saying like even thinking of that, like as a startup business, low barrier of entry. I mean,
Right.
$10,000 to $12,000. I mean, come
Right.
on.
And that is like a big one. Like we are talking,
Yeah,
it's got a double cooler, it's got the big cool system, it has, 4 different shelving units. Like it is, they used an old yoga studio and turned it into kind of like we call it the marketplace. They had a vision as well of like what they wanted. And I think, there were some people that really helped like hone in of like, what is this vision going to look like? They have a brand, they have all these things. And so it is very this sleek, cool looking spot. But yeah, I mean, one location changed everything for us. And when you think about it, like the return on investment, like we had paid that off like pretty quickly. Again, this is a unicorn, I understand that, but again,
yeah,
like I never knew that this location would be this number. So when I got into it, I was like, yeah, for sure, like we'll invest this, we'll figure it out, like we'll make it
yeah,
work. Again, got very, very lucky in a really awesome area of Seattle with a bunch of different high rises and apartments. It has condos, it has apartments, and it has long-term hotel all in one. And so again, a unicorn of a space, and just a different area than I think a lot of people. There's a lot where you're like, oh, I just have an apartment or I just have a hotel. We're really lucky that this was all combined together. But again, I mean, this one space like changed everything for my husband and I.
That's wild.
incredible.
And Shan, what's fascinating about like just hearing you talk is you didn't have other businesses before this one. Like you're
No.
literally learning how to create an LLC and order a $12,000 micro market in your first month on the gig. So kudos to you. That kind of leads me to my next thing. Like, what was one moment or decision that really kind of helped your vending business and like things started to click? Was it hiring help? Was it like building systems? Like, when was it like, okay, now I cannot just be in the business 4 days a week stocking, or what was it?
Yeah, so I think the shifts happened at the same time. So I ran it out of our home June,
Mhm.
June through, and like we didn't have a garage, y'all. So like I am not kidding. I have photos of like this is the couch, and like husband, you can't sit here because that's where Diet Coke lives. Like, and
And your neighbor's like, what's up with all these boxes
exactly.
arriving at our front
Everything's getting
door?
delivered on our front door. We have a Porsche. Like we live in, like, what am I doing? Like Costco business is like delivering to my door and like, we can't do this for you anymore, ma'am. I'm like, all right, fine. We'll figure it out.
Where
So,
where did you find the recycling to put all these boxes? Because I'm sure your
Yeah, that's
little
a good question.
container did.
so yeah, that was really fun because we also go through a lot of things ourselves. So like I would literally have to like store things in our recycling bin. And then, we only do recycling every 2 weeks in Seattle. And so then it'd be like, well, you're allowed like an additional box. And I'd have like 3 or 4 and just be like, pray the one time. And then sometimes they would take all of them. Sometimes they wouldn't take them. And I would just have to like continue to shuttle in and out and hope that someone would take my recycling at some point. But I think like my biggest moment where I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. And like, this is how we can change this was in the same month, I hired a stalker as well as got a location for my inventory. So
Mm.
I realized pretty quickly that we were going to need to have more space for this and I needed help. At that time, when I started the vending route, I did not have a full-time job. In the middle of all of this, I got a full-time job. So I am now balancing this full-time position, trying to make a good first impression while also, needing to be on location 4 times a week. And so we were able, or I guess I say we a lot, but I was able to hire a stalker, found someone through Craigslist stylist who was like a phenomenal worker, was able to work, their own hours and all of that. And then I got a storage unit. I mean, I think some of the nicest parts about it was 24/7. We could access it whenever we needed. And we were able to have, it was like a WeWork space of some sorts. And yes, we were in like a pottery studio area. And so was it weird to be like wheeling out gummy bears and Diet Cokes when everyone else is like wheeling in pottery? Yes, but like it worked for us, and it was, the best space, and really helped us kind of take the next step.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like your biggest thing was where you were able to really kind of almost like make it passive of like hiring that infrastructure and that team and kind of really trusting that person. I know you're hiring somebody for the first time, so you want to making sure that are they going to stock it as good as you? Because I mean, you're
Yes.
stocking it 4 days a week. I got
Right.
to make sure everything looks pretty in there.
Yeah.
Like I know there's a little bit of entrepreneurial. We all have it. It's like okay, letting go of some of those tasks. You're talking to one of them. I'm sure you felt it as well too. Like kind of give us into like that mindset of you kind of letting it go, where you're not working like in the business, but you're working on it. You know?
Yeah, I think what's really hard, and I mean, I think well, I have always struggled with it when it comes to working, right? Is like a group project. Like, if my name is on it, then I want 100% ownership, right? I'm not someone who just like passively is a part of a group project. And so when you're handing the keys over to a stalker and saying, like, yeah, I need you to be able to do these things, at the end of the day, they're not emailing her if there is a problem. They are emailing me. It is my business.
Yeah.
It is my reputation. And so I think like that was the scariest part, is there were some learning curves as we're figuring it out. She was figuring out like, oh, the aesthetics really do matter to them. So like all the candy bars need to be facing the same direction, right? Where it's just like, yeah,
Mm.
as a 21-year-old student who is restocking, like I would have just thrown them in too. But like for
Yeah.
me, my brand is really important. And so I think like that was a big learning curve, and like understanding that like I have so much control right now, but I cannot continue to have this control forever. And that's where I think I leaned on other people who had been in this business before of like, scale. You have to figure out how to scale, because if you can't
Yeah.
do this for this one, then you're not going to be able to get any other locations. And like the whole point of it was to be passive. And I will say, and I think everyone does at the very beginning, like there is nothing passive when you get started.
For
Now is
sure.
passive, right?
Yeah.
There were moments where you're like, oh yeah, like I figured out this new report that like I'm going to do that works really well, or I've been able to, do like reshipments and things like that, where it's like it starts to feel more passive. But really handing the keys over, having a stalker, and then being able to I laugh still, because there were still moments where things would be delivered to my house. And so then I just felt like a chauffeur. So I would like take the stock from my house to the location for then someone else to pick up. And since then it's gotten more passive. I would say like 3 months ago, I moved into another location, a little bit bigger so we could grow. But the biggest thing for me was like the receiving. So always having to be on site to receive something. I work a full-time job. My stalkers are just working, hourly. And so now we
Uh-huh.
have a location that can receive and puts the product into my unit. And so like that happened about 3 or 4 months ago. And that was another like light bulb moment of like, okay, now I've gotten myself out of this game even more. And it has never felt more passive than it has these last few months.
It's
And
incredible.
yeah, Shan, that's awesome. And so with that, what's kind of the next layer? Like, do you have like how are you setting up your staff? Is your stalker doing all the picking? Are you going to hire a picker? Are you still ordering inventory? Are you handing that off to your stalker? Like, what's the next step for you? Are you hiring a general manager? Just kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So right now I have a stalker. She works anywhere from like 15 to 20 hours a week. I am still doing the ordering. I think this is where Anthony, we've talked about like the
Yeah.
control. There's part of
Yeah.
me that is like really hard to let that go. I know that everyone's going to roll. I still run one of the routes myself. So there's a
Don't
location
tell
that's a
Mike. Mike, close your ears.
I
I
know. There's a
know. Buy
location
back
that's
your time, Shan. Buy
I
back your
know, but there's
time.
a location that's close to I coach a basketball team, and it's literally in the same town. So I'm like, I'm not going to
Mm.
pay someone when I am there 3 days a week anyways to just be able to do some of that. So I know that at some point I need to let that location go, but I think that is like my one piece of control. So for me, I would say that the biggest thing is either hiring someone else that can help me manage the warehouse piece of it when it comes to the stocking of the inventory, like at the location, and making sure that we have the right things, that I'm not getting a text at 9 o'clock at night saying, hey, we're out of Fairlife. And I'm like, great, awesome. Okay, how am I going to handle this tonight? Do you need it tonight? Can I get it to you tomorrow? How long is that going to take? So for me, like that's the next step would be either hiring well, probably two things: hiring an additional stalker to be able to take on that other location, and whether that stalker then can help manage some of the things as it like is inventory and shopping and all of that, or whether I need to hire someone to do that. But yes, that's the next step.
So out of all the locations that you have, how far is it like from your house? Like what's the longest one that you have in
So
driving?
yeah, my like radius is like 10 miles, which like in Seattle is a perfect place to be. Like my 10 miles could take 20 minutes or it could take an hour and a half. And so for me,
I know that.
I was like,
Okay.
yes, you understand that all too well. So for me, when it came to like expanding and moving forward with other location or other
Mhm.
spots, location was the most important thing. I
Yeah.
just had someone reach out to me and say, I have something in the Seattle market. It was in Olympia, Washington. Well, Olympia is 69 miles without any traffic. And so to me, I had to let that go because I just knew that like for a scale and for me to be able to grow, I had to be really strategic and not only the places that I'm going, but the locations that I'm going in and how far away from our general hub we are, because then I'm
Yeah.
just paying someone to drive versus,
Exactly.
actually doing the work. And so for me, like that was the most important was like, not only are they really good locations, but they kind of fit within this like 10, maybe 15-mile radius, depending on kind of the location.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You got to
So
know the
everyone's
logistics.
different. Some
Yeah.
people would be willing to drive an hour plus to be able to get a
I'm only
spot.
driving there if it's 25K a month.
Yeah, well, yes. And this one I could already tell based on the writing on the wall that it wasn't going to be. And I was like, you know what? We're
Yeah.
okay here. A WeWork space with 100 people and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so I'm like, nope, this isn't going to be worth it. And there's someone who needs to have this opportunity that might be closer. And we're willing to give these opportunities to other vendingpreneurs that might be the first location for them. And so I think that whole giving back to our community is a really important thing too.
Absolutely. Mike and I definitely appreciate your time joining us on here today, for us to, go through this and talk about your journey. Last question for you. If you had to tell yourself when you first started a piece of advice, of a wisdom that you had to set upon yourself to, what would you tell your old self? What would be like the one key piece of advice that you would tell your old self?
I wish I would have helped sooner. Like I wish I would have listened to the people who told me in order to scale, like think about like your time is so important here. So I wish like that's one piece of advice that I would have given myself. And the other one would have been to just breathe. Like at some points you feel like there's so much going on and you have the restocking that needs to happen and you need to have reorder this. Sorry,
We'll edit
y'all.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll edit it.
But with the restocking and all that, but just like to just breathe and know that like as you're learning something new, like have patience with yourself. And I think for me, like I had no business background. I had no business being in this business. Like I never knew what an LLC was. Like I didn't know what I was doing. And so just to like have patience with yourself of like, you'll figure it out. Like there's going to be a lot of learning curves. But the patience and, just having these moments of like breathe and know that you're like starting from the ground up and that's okay. You might have some missteps and you might have really good months and really, not so great months. But just to be patient with the process.
Love that. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Shannon,
Sorry,
I'm
y'all.
gonna go off. I'm gonna go off script here because I'm really curious. With your unicorn location that's doing whatever it is, 22 to 25 grand a month. What's your number one seller? And
Mhm.
then what's an item that might not be considered traditional vending that actually sells a lot? Just curious.
Okay, so my number one seller is Smart Waters, so I should be branded by them. I feel like I've just picked a water bottle and was like, yeah, this'll work. And I want to say last year or last month we did like $6,000 of just sales in water bottles, like water.
Are those the
Like
20-ounce bottles or the bigger 33-ounce
no,
1 liter
20
bottles?
because the 20s fit better in our location because I have it
Wow.
really like I have a lot of rows of
Yep.
different things.
How
So
many slots of water do you have?
10 slots of water and
A
then
row and a half.
we also, yes, a row and a half, and then
Just
we
for smart water.
also got some feedback. So I am like very big into getting feedback, and with us being on site 4 times a week we get a lot of feedback from people that are maybe doing things as we're there, and so people wanted ones that were room temperature, which I would never pick a room temperature water, but different strokes, different folks. And so we have a spot that like couldn't really fit a ton of product, and so we have like 40 that are room temperature that are also right by the checkout, and I feel like it's an easy thing for people to grab, be like, oh, maybe I am thirsty, and grab a water bottle right there at the end. One thing that I was shocked and does really well is actually a 6-pack of toilet paper. So like the Charmin 6-pack sells quite well. Again, we are in this wonderful location where we've got the condos and the apartments and all of that, but you would be surprised at how many people run out of toilet paper and need some toilet paper. So yes, never
So
thought I'd
what's
be, yeah.
yeah? What's a 6-pack of Sherman cost you, and then what do you resell it for?
I sell it for $16.99.
Nice.
And I want to say a 6-pack. Now you're making me do the math right now. Is it terrifying that I know how much Charmin costs? It's $32 and you get 4 of those packs. So it's $8. So yeah, so 50%
Wow.
margins there, or
Wow,
just
on a
over 50%.
$16. That's really
Yeah.
good.
And I think like October, we've already sold like 15 packs, which is like, pretty, yeah, like we're looking at 2 a week, 2 to 3 a
Crazy.
week. Yeah, and doing pretty good there. So yes, the incidentals have gone a long way with us. So we do really well with like Advils, Excedrin, condoms, shampoo, conditioners. Like we have an entire row for just incidentals that I really thought like, oh, chips and drinks and snacks is where it's going to be, but our incidentals actually do really well for us.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Thinking
True.
outside the box too.
Yeah, it's a true marketplace.
Yeah,
That's
it
awesome.
is. Got everything.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Shan, this is awesome. I know we're coming up on time, but thanks for sharing your story, and grateful to have you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all are crushing it and continuing to crush it. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Appreciate it.